On paper, Hulu's Chad Powers shouldn't even exist. Admittedly, the concept of a sports comedy series spinning off from a recurring sketch, at best, is nothing new. Just look at the show that made viewership numbers for Apple TV Plus skyrocket, for instance. But there's still no reason that a one-off character first originated by Eli Manning for an ESPN Plus docuseries would even necessitate his own show, especially not one that turns out to be as unexpectedly hilarious and heart-wrenching as this does. Co-created by leading man Glen Powell and Michael Waldron, Chad Powers takes what could have been a simple concept, mined for cheap, lowbrow humor, and elevates it into something that's easily in the running for one of the best television comedies of the year.
What is Chad Powers about? Russ Holliday was once at the top of his game as the starting quarterback for the University of Oregon's football team. But over the last 8 years, this rising star has fallen significantly. So what happened? A critical flashback clues us into the fateful event that seemingly changed everything. In the national championship game against Georgia, with the score tied and only a few seconds left on the game clock, Russ decided to run in for a touchdown himself, only instead of making sure the ball was secure in the end zone, he accidentally dropped it at the 1-yard line, leaving the door open for Georgia to snatch it up and win the championship themselves. His career only snowballed from there, but some of Russ's subsequent failures have definitely been of his own making, between a toxic social media presence and an arrogance that is only magnified since he became a football pariah. When a job offer from the XFL falls through and his dad, Mike, a prosthetic and makeup artist, refuses to let him crash in the garage for one more day, Russ is seemingly all out of options. Until a small college in South Georgia decides to hold open tryouts for a new quarterback. The combination of lugging his dad's makeup kit around and a conveniently placed Mrs. Doubtfire poster is all the inspiration Russ needs to make his riskiest move yet, disguising himself and entering tryouts under the made-up name of Chad Powers. Between improvising his backstory on the fly and barely keeping his fake face and wig on, Russ might be in over his head, but South Georgia student Danny immediately decides to appoint himself Russ's cohort and sidekick of sorts, helping him to maintain this facade for as long as it takes. Russ isn't the only one feeling the pressure. The South Georgia Catfish have been struggling to earn a winning season, and football coach Coach Hudson has been made aware by the college's #1 booster, Trisha, that his job might be on the line if he can't get the team to a national championship. Even once Chad Powers manages to earn himself a spot as a Catfish, he's also got to win over the other, more skeptical coaches, Dobbs, Bird, and Ricky, as well as his new teammates. But will his success on the field even matter if someone uncovers the truth?
Glen Powell is the heart of Chad Powers, but the supporting cast is stacked with standouts. Just like the series' very existence, there was no reason for Powell to go as hard as he did in Chad Powers, and yet he infuses his performance with all the traits that have made him so irresistible to watch on screen. With the actor arguably at the height of his career and star power, a role like this one could easily have been handed off to someone else, but it's almost impossible to imagine another party giving the titular character as much depth as Powell does. His previous role in Richard Linklater's Hitman may have paved the way for Chad Powers, especially when taking into account Powell's disappearance into various wigs and accents in that film. While he only sticks to one particular voice for Chad Powers, a high-pitched southern affectation that adopts a subtle lisp courtesy of some terrible fake teeth, the choice also makes Powell's line delivery and some of the show's funniest moments that much more gut-busting. The more Russ's lies about his made-up persona start to stack up, the more ridiculous his improvisation is forced to become, resulting in scenes like the one where Chad Powers awkwardly confesses to never having played football in front of a real crowd before because of the feral wolves that were known to kidnap babies from his small internetless town. Powell is arguably the heart of Chad Powers for a multitude of reasons, but the show's ensemble cast is also full of standouts, each of whom has something unique to offer in moments ranging from side-splittingly hilarious to starkly emotional. As Russ's sidekick and confidant, Rodriguez goes toe-to-toe with Powell as one of his best scene partners, while delivering some expertly cutting comebacks. Zahn, who's been asserting himself in dramatic roles as of late, shoulders the role of the wearied Coach Hudson with ease, but really shines when the script demands even more vulnerability. As for the biggest thorn in his side, it would be easy for the show's writers to reduce Trisha to a one-note booster stereotype, but between Everett's sharp witticisms and some breadcrumbed backstory, she becomes an even richer character to watch develop. That's also the case for Ricky, who could have been positioned as a mere love interest with little to no development beyond that, but Mattfeld proves to be the source of some of the show's biggest narrative surprises, giving an especially breathtaking performance in the season finale.
Chad Powers also knows when to get dramatic, especially when some jokes don't always land. There's likely a version of Chad Powers that could have been made with a straight focus on the comedy inherent in its very premise. A disgraced college quarterback gets a second chance at his career thanks to some iffy prosthetic makeup, and hijinks ensue. That does happen to an extent, but what makes this show one of TV's biggest surprises is its willingness to lean into messier, harder, inconveniently devastating emotions. In the same episode, Chad Powers is just as likely to make you cry laughing as it is to earn tears of a completely different nature. And that's where the show successfully manages to become something much greater than its origin story would have you believe. For all the comedy that Powell undeniably nails, there are equally many opportunities for sensitivity, and these don't just extend to the show's lead, but to a majority of the supporting cast. That said, there are still a couple of disappointing L's on Chad Powers' overall record. The show itself is undeniably R-rated, and its comedic sensibilities reflect that, with jokes ranging from a riff on two families engaging in a mutual blindside to an in-depth graphic description of Chad's medical condition that prevents him from showering after practice. But there are also instances when the series teeters over the line from delightfully irreverent into outdated or even borderline offensive territory, with jokes that should have been permanently benched at the height of college-set comedies in the early aughts, rather than popping up in a show premiering in 2025. Those drawbacks are definitely few and far between, and they may not be enough to diminish every viewer's enjoyment, but they're blemishes on an otherwise entertaining season. The show could also have benefited from a few more episodes to spool out its narrative, rather than packing its biggest drama in at the end. Overall, Chad Powers feels like the television equivalent of a true freshman who came out of nowhere to win the prized Heisman Trophy, courtesy of a fantastic leading man in Powell, tremendous supporting performances, and a story that knows exactly when to utilize the best plays for cheeky comedy or poignant drama. It's also, in many ways, a perfect show to tune in for if you've been keeping up with college football just based on the sheer number of cameos from familiar casters, even if you might have some questions about which conference South Georgia is actually playing in, and whether they can reasonably make a run at the national championship against schools like Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Georgia. Just like the titular character's increasingly wild backstory, it's best not to think about the finer details too much, and enjoy the season as it plays out instead.